All right, thanks and Nathaniel's Coffee and Panini, Trojan Aluminium, ARC General Maintenance, and Solely Designs. This is a Crowject podcast, episode 271, aka the emergency podcast. Well, we thought that Port could embarrass themselves and we just let them do their own thing, but no. The Crows needed a win off the field. They can't win on, that's for sure. So tonight is a Thursday night after selections, and there has been a veritable myriad of things that have happened. Now, it's not just me, and my name's Peter. If you haven't listened to the pod before, thank you for listening in for the first time, but I'm also joined by Lachie down the pipe. Lachie, how are you?
I'm good, Peter, and I would like to point out I am smiling because we are both dressed in the quarter zips tonight.
Yes, the Columbia quarter zips as the fashion of choice on the Crowject, apparently. But if you want something more fashionable, go to crowject.bigcartel.com and get yourself a plethora of things, including chrome beanies, all sorts of things by Sophie at Solely Designs as well, who's currently on the sick list without a voice, probably yelling at fog, I don't know, for only getting us 2 disposals in the second half of the weekend. Shout out to Ethan there. Now, look, Lachie, I want you to talk about the last 48 hours in this period of the club, because I feel like you've surmised it very well in our Patreon chat, patreon.com/Crowject. But, mate, just tell me your visceral feelings right now, because we've got voicemails, we've got responses a go-go, but you tell me how you're feeling right now, buddy.
I keep coming back to the word frustrated. I'm just so frustrated with how not only I feel like this week has just been everything that's gone wrong with this year piled into one. Like everything that possibly could have gone wrong coming out of the showdown and during the showdown and even the whole year has just happened this week. Like
So true.
it's just so ridiculous. And as I said to you just then off air, we're at Thursday night at 9:20, and I think I've seen the game analysed once, which was on the Sunday Footy Show. not even 12 hours up or 12 hours after the game. And since then, we've had about 5 different topics from the showdown itself, rather than the actual 4 quarters of game, which we of course lost. But yeah, I just keep coming back to the word frustrated, and I don't know if it's anger. I think it's more annoyance and frustration rather than pure I'm angry at the whole club and everyone that works. Like I'm not angry, I'm just frustrated when I don't get why. I think that's where I'm at the moment.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, I honestly don't know how to feel right now. I'm like uncomfortably numb. And that's because I await the club to disappoint me at some point, and yet they just somehow spectacularly do it again and again. And there's a part of me as well, and I just want to say this off the top. First off, we've got some voicemails to get to, but also the AFL women's season is happening in a week and a bit, right? Our amazing girls team is going to be going for possibly their 4th premiership.
They've been the pride of our club since really even before the 2017 men's grand final, because they of course did win earlier in the year in March or April or whatever it was. But really across these last 7 years, most people wouldn't probably think of it when their first thoughts of the Crows, but they've been the ones that have made us as supporters actually have a team to be proud of and really get behind. Like, I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we can't get behind the e-gaming side of things because we had to sell that. But there's just so much other stuff. Look, and I mean, let's just surmise what's happened in the last 7 days. Okay. First off, it comes out after the game. This time last week, we had Rachele coming onto 5AA, all of Nova Entertainment, hit the whole building and said that poor Power fans don't have teeth. Okay.
Which has been a joke for a long, long period of time. We all know that.
Exactly. Heck, even they know that. Let's be honest. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of friends of mine that are Port fans, and they said, yeah, play on, while they were eating, yogos or something. But then on top of that, the game itself, like you've said, there hasn't been much analysis of the game, because even for us on Monday night, myself and Ben, we struggled to find what to talk about. But then also you had Isaac Rankin get knocked out, so then everyone's speculating about what's going to happen with Dan Houston. Things come out, and this was something that was coming out on Monday night as a rumor, then turned out to be completely confirmed, that Thunder Power, the mascot, got punched and had a bloody nose. Like this, so that's
I actually can't comprehend that.
Yeah, so that's three things right there. Okay,
and we're at Monday night, right?
This is Monday night, and then Monday night we also heard, and this was as I was going in to record the pod, about Laird's comments on SEN. Turns out that's been a big trigger here as well. So that's 4. And then the news about Houston getting 5 matches, ironically, 5. And then Cal Toomey drops a tweet that gets retweeted by the AFL on Wednesday night, saying that Rachele will be dropped, and Cal Toomey, very rarely wrong.
I don't think I've ever seen him wrong, yeah.
Yet, 6. And then Koshi comes out and saying, we need to take the sting out of the showdown, 7. And then Rachele does get dropped, and rather than bringing in a rookie, we bring back Chase Jones. 8.
And did you mention Matt Crouch in all of that as well?
9.
Matt Crouch flipping a cap off someone's head, and we're now calling it assault. I mean, what has the world come to? I mean, seriously.
Just that by itself, in any other week, you'd think to yourself, what the hell? First off, let's go through this real quick. Matt Crouch, right? You can tell by the vision, it does seem like it felt like a little bit like Looney Tunes cartoonish, the way that hat flew off. Was there a second person?
How loose did he have it on?
Yes. It's a freak gust of wind
it just
or something.
Sitting on top like one of those little top hats you get given?
Oh no. And then just Matt Crouch, there was a doorstop interview, literally a doorstop. He was getting into his lovely Toyota Kluger, probably from CMI Toyota. And Matt Crouch is just like, oh, now the line, it's a police investigation, we can't comment on it. Which, who would have thought the week after a showdown, those comments would be coming from Crows players and officials?
Let's just put it this way: if what that came out Tuesday, I think, like he said that, or was it Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah.
If you put that in isolation, and we are 3 or 4 days after a showdown, and a Crows player said, yes, it's under police investigation, the whole club would have lost their minds. But it's just like, this week it's just been like, oh, great, another thing.
Yeah. No, yeah. I didn't hear the last 5 seconds of that. Your internet paused significantly. Apologies. But that's okay, because we're on Riverside, so it'll all upload, and I'm sure I'll hear it after and laugh with hilarity. But good point, Lachie. But yeah, look, in isolation, any other time, that'd be fine. But we just like to outdo ourselves, don't we? Club.
It's just, you just open your phone each day and go, what now?
And in the Patreons chat, I can't remember who it was. I think it may have been me or someone else who said, put up the club statement thing. Just that get. But look, okay, so we've talked about this, and I think it's something that we really need to do a deep dive on. Josh Rachele. Oh, as well, just a perfect 10 as well. Josh Rachele gets picked for the 22 under 22 side. So, claps there. Yeah, that's a perfect 10. We got there.
Wowee. 10 incidents from the showdown without the game itself.
Oh, well, one is with the hat wouldn't have happened.
The bump wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so, all right. Lachie, this Rachele thing is quite concerning. And like I said, I'm pretty numb to this now, but I can probably say the last 24 hours is probably one of the worst periods in the club. Because why? First off, I want to know where the initial leak came from. Like, to get to Cal Toomey, that sort of thing, someone's whispered to him, and it's clearly more of a trying to teach him a lesson sort of thing. Mate, where do you think that would have come from? Was it his management, or could it have been Josh himself, or someone within the club? What do you think?
I reckon. Firstly, I'm not going to blame Kautumi because
No.
and
He's a journalist. He's doing his job.
he did his job and he's correct and all of that sort of thing. So and trust us. We often think that there's many that don't do it. But Cow's a great reporter. So anyway, moving on. Yeah, look, I think it might have come from something like Rachele found out on a Wednesday afternoon, maybe let's just call it 3 o'clock roughly. And it's gotten to one of his mates or a manager or something like that. It's gone through to Kautumi one way or another. He's tweeted it. I think it could be something as small as that. I don't necessarily tend to believe that we have a leak in the club. I don't sort of buy into that. Because if we did, then it would have been reported by 15 different journos rather than just the one.
Okay. That's
yeah, I look, maybe Kautumi's got some really close contacts to the club, which he probably does working for the actual AFL themselves. But yeah, look, I'm not happy that it got out one way or another, but I think whether it gets out is one thing. I think I still go back to the part that I'm annoyed that it's a fact in the first place, that I don't think he should have been dropped. That's the thing that's annoying me that I can't seem to get past.
I could not agree more. I'm so pissed off about this that it's coming up to it's a dead rubber of a game coming up on the weekend, okay? But then
we
you've
all
got
just
to
want
lead
to get
into
it over with.
Exactly, and probably including the players too.
Yeah.
But would this not be the perfect time to, play a rookie and sort of celebrate their possible debut, that sort of thing? Nah. What we're focusing on right now is something that, they talk about first impressions last, but it's the lasting memories of the season. This is not the way to handle this, okay? This is not the thing to do before the end of the season, okay? Look, if this happened, to be honest, if it was 3 or 4 rounds ago, right, and the showdown was there, and the exact same sequence of events happened, and he got dropped for a game, I could understand that. And I think that would be more palatable to do this just before the end of the season and to carry this into the off season. It's gonna stink things up, something fierce.
That's what I was just about to say. The whole thing, it just stinks. It just, like, what is he? I was speaking to Dad on the way home, and I was like, what is he going to go off now? What is he supposed to take into the summer? Oh, exactly. I got dropped for the last game, and it annoys me. There's some sort of breakdown along the way, because there's a breakdown of media training, and the fact that if they're that unhappy about it, then tell him before he goes onto the radio to not say that. And secondly, they can't have been that unhappy with it, because if so, then he wouldn't have done the celebration which he did, and he would not have pointed to the teeth. If they were that unhappy about it, and they didn't want to drop him for whatever reason, and because they wouldn't have really had grounds to, if they didn't want to drop him, then they would have said, if you're going to kick a goal, just high five your teammates, give them just celebrate normally, don't go up to the crowd. So why is it that if they're unhappy about the comments, tell him before the celebration? Don't make it 1,000 times worse and tell him on Monday or Sunday whenever the team meeting happened. Tell him earlier so he doesn't get himself into that situation.
Yeah, look, as a fiery Italian Australian myself, just be straight with us, okay? It's not that hard. I couldn't agree more, Lachie. This is not and the other thing too, to not back a player like this, who honestly I think has a phenomenal future ahead of him.
Yep.
I'm really I'm a huge fan of
50 or 2 games or whatever it is. He's not a 300 gamer yet.
And I don't understand what merit he's going to learn playing in the SANFL.
We've got one game at Sturt. He's not going to qualify for the finals, so it's not like we're just going to be like, oh, well, at least you can go and have a run at Sandful level. He's got one game. What's the point of him even playing it?
Yeah. Now, let's get to some voicemails, mate, because honestly, some of these, we got 2 voicemails and they all came in immediately after this news came through from Cal Toomey yesterday. They're great voicemails, so here we go.
Josh Rachele set to be dropped for the match against Sydney. What are we doing? I'm sorry, but I'm not the biggest Josh Rachele fan, but is anyone getting sort of Jack Ginnivan vibes at Collingwood from him? I just the teeth chatter was not that deep, yet everyone seems to be getting so worked up to it. Both Port Adelaide fans and even our own club. I mean, yeah, sure. Even if the boys at the club and the management think that it was a bit of a shit call or a step too far to say in public, at least get around him and support him. He's still one of your teammates. You'd rather be, putting your arms around him and trying to support him and get up and about rather than trying to discipline him via all the radio channels and shit. I mean, come on. Surely we can manage this better. I mean, they're getting close to pushing him away to a Hawthorn where they would very happily accept him. All right, cheers.
Couldn't say it better myself, and that's why someone else did. Because that's, I couldn't agree more. I'm not sure who exactly called then. Next time, leave your name if you want. But that was a phenomenal phone call because that came in just after the news dropped, like I said. And as soon as I heard that, the mention of Ginnivan at Collingwood, it's a fair comparison, I think. Just the flair that he had at Collingwood, that sort of thing. And from all reports, he sort of got driven out of Collingwood just because of his, not necessarily attitude, but more his aptitude, I guess. But that's a maturity thing. And look, we're going to play comments from Will Goodings, who ironically was in the same studio when Rachele said his first comments as well. But he has a perfect comparison as well, which you may have seen on the socials too. What are your thoughts on that voicemail, Lachie? We've got another one coming, but what are your thoughts on that one, mate?
Well, I agree with the fact that I just hate the fact that he was just hung out to dry in this whole scenario. It just sort of popped into my head, but Lachie Murphy is obviously in the leadership group, and we have debated that all year, and we probably forever will, that when he retires and whatnot, we'll go, he was a member of our leadership group, and that part doesn't matter. My point is with this, he came out on the Monday morning when he had his weekly presser and said, we don't want robots in the game. We'll get behind Rachele, and we want him to be a character. We want him to just do his thing, all of that sort of thing. Right. So he's a member of the leadership group. So that should be the united front. And when that came out, I was like, yep, no worries. That's pretty well a standard response that I was expecting. He's done the club line. Well said. All of that sort of thing. I actually thought it was good leadership in all of that sort.
Yeah.
And then Rory Laird comes out on Monday night at about whenever the drive show was on for SEN, I think 5:30, 6 o'clock or whatever it was, and pretty well deletes everything Lachie Murphy said. So, and then it's revealed later in the week that the leadership group weren't happy with what he said. So I can understand Murphy maybe putting on a front to the media, but it just, they have to realise as well that the fans, what they say to the media is also what they say to the fans. I think that sometimes gets lost a little bit, that they seem to think, oh, we'll just say it to the media, the fans will know. But the fans don't know because the fans aren't in the club meetings. But when Murphy said it initially, I was like, okay, job done, no worries. We won't hear this ever. We won't hear this again. And then it all got blown apart and ripped apart, 5 hours later, 6 hours later?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
And look, it's a great point because we feel on the outer as fans and members, and there's nothing worse than that feeling. And this is exactly how I felt in 2018 and 19.
Yeah, I was just about to say, do you feel, and this is what I've said it a lot this year, I've said it to you a couple of times as well, do you feel worse this year than you did in 2019?
look, personally, I feel,
I think I felt worse in 19 because I
yeah,
felt in 19 it was the supporters and the club,
yeah,
and I knew something was going to happen.
yeah,
This year, there's fractions in the supporter base, I feel,
yeah,
and there's
and
also a massive fraction between the supporter base and the club, and I don't think anything's going to happen.
yeah, and on top of that as well, I mean, look, I can see a trajectory coming out of this, whereas in 2018 and 19, it was almost like delaying the inevitable. I
Yeah.
mean, when the news was coming out about the camp things and collective mind and the embargoes they put on all of that and that press conference, I can tell you exactly where I was when I was watching it. I would like
I
I
can't
just
even remember what time it was.
it was I think it was on a Saturday from
I think it was a
memory.
Saturday at we had the bye.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
right.
We
Yeah,
had the
yeah,
bye. It
yeah.
was
It
a
was a bye.
Saturday afternoon at about 2 o'clock. I think I was at the footy club, I reckon, and I got some notification that we were going live, and I was like, oh, whatever
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's just something weird. I thought maybe a player's done their ACL or something like that, but
yeah.
yeah, oh god.
Mate, it's a thing. And look, I feel, to be honest, I have more faith in some of the off-field staff now than I did in 2018 to 19. I'll be perfectly honest about that. To be honest, I actually have a fair amount of faith in uh, most of the people that are in charge. The people that I'm concerned about, and I said this on the record as a part of a mid-season review, is our football department. And I say department.
What can
I
you just for everyone listening, can
Yeah.
you just define what the football department encompasses?
Well, how I look at it is that the football department is an all-encroaching division. I say encroaching specifically because they cover all aspects of football, both on and off the field, which I think as a scope is something that's difficult to define. And I feel like it's more the focus on the men's side has been lost compared to the women's side. Like I'll give a full credit to, people, and I'll shout some people out here. Phil Harper, right? Who I think is running the women's side of things brilliantly.
Was he
Okay.
involved in the men's program
At some point, yeah.
at some point?
Um,
Yeah.
and he got made a life member at the club at their season launch earlier this year, and he gave a really fantastic speech there too, just sort of talking about his own passion for things. But there's a difference between you can be passionate about something, but still be shit at it. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying
Yes.
Phil is whatsoever, but I feel like there's people in that football department that, yeah, they're passionate about where we're going, but that does not mean that they're good at it. Okay?
And I
Like,
think who you might be alluding to there
yeah.
is a
Like,
certain former Brownlow medalist.
yeah, exactly. And look, I'm passionate about, cars and the mechanicals of cars. Am I a good car mechanic? Fuck no. I'm really bad at it. But that doesn't mean that, still have a passion for it, but I'm happy to pay someone else to do it because I'm shit at it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Sometimes you've got to step out of the way for the good, the better good of the whole club itself. I feel like there's a lot of egos involved in that club right now, and it's really scaring me about where we're heading. Because I feel like it's diminishing some of the good work. So like, the marketing team and the social media team. Okay.
They've been great in what they can do this year with, like, the social media team. Like,
Yeah.
they have a tough job because what they post is entirely dependent on team performance. Like,
Exactly.
entirely. Like, they can't just suddenly post 25 photos from the game if we lose, because everyone will be like, shut up, stop tweeting, stop posting. Whereas we win and everyone wants every single piece of club content they can possibly get.
You're so right on that. And, I'll give a shout out to people like, Anne and James, who do a lot of the socials, and Anna Muki, who does a lot of the marketing side of things. They do a fantastic job, and, they're really passionate about everything they do. But all that work gets lost when other people put their own egos in charge instead of doing what's best for the club. And if not everyone is attuned to that and doing that at the same time, the good works of some people is going to be completely wiped out by those who are just thinking about themselves. Now, you always back the horse's self-interest, for anything, anywhere, but at the same time, it's a collaborative approach when it comes to the club side of things. And that's the part that's honestly scaring me. I don't have any faith whatsoever in that football department. And I feel like it's shitting on the good works that happen in the rest of the club. And that's, yeah.
And you go back to the AFLW side of things.
Hmm.
They played a trial game on Sunday afternoon. The only thing I've heard about from that game is through, and as ridiculous as this sounds, is through a 30-second Channel 7 report that Chelsea Bedell played forward.
Yep.
That's all I've heard. And the only other thing I've heard is through, and stay with me here, Jess Waterhouse's TikTok.
Yeah.
That's
clearly,
literally
you didn't
all
listen
I've heard.
to Monday night then. Shame on you.
Well, true. But we play a trial game on a Sunday and we're what'd you say? We're a week and I think Jess said today the first game's the 30th or the 31st.
Yeah, if you're listening this Friday morning, it's 8 days away.
Yeah, so we're 8 days away from our first game in a team which has never, or I think they've missed the finals once or twice.
Yeah.
I think we're up to about season 9 because we had a couple of double seasons, and we don't hear anything of it.
Yeah, agreed. I'm actually genuinely pissed off. I mean,
we're coming off a prelim.
Yeah. Look, Marnie Vinnell did an excellent article talking about critiquing AFL women's, but also she did one about I think 3 or 4 months ago. I'll put this in the show notes too. 3 or 4 months ago, talking about what does the AFL want to do to the AFL women's, because they're not running it properly. And don't get me started about what was her name, Nicole Livingston, the AFL
she
women's
makes your
commissioner.
blood boil.
She is genuinely, when she announced she was quitting, the first thing I said was, quitting what? She didn't do anything. But anyway, all right, we've got another voicemail to get to, mate.
Okay.
Here we go.
This club's a joke. I mean, you kick out Rachele. We're a troll team. We're shit against the shit teams. We're good against the good teams. You might as well play into these fun comments, but instead we ban the prick for a fucking game. For what? Stupid fucking club.
Okay, short and sweet.
Well, he made his point, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I suppose there is a case of flat track bullies to an extent, I guess is what he's trying to say.
More like flat cap bullies because of the flick of the... Yeah, anyway.
Which we will get to. Look, yeah, I mean, well, you look at some of our wins this year against teams like Carlton, who, whether they play finals or not, is still to be up in the air, which, let's face it, they probably should and will. Essendon won't now play finals, but that was a great away win. I don't think that can be discredited. They beat Port at home, Brisbane we drew with. So, yeah, flat track bullies I'm not certain of. I don't think you can say that when we've been, let's face it, shit across the whole year. Like, we've been shit in most of our games. Like, I don't think it's been a case of like it was, and I'm not just saying this because they're Port, but like when Port in 2017, when they beat every bottom 10 team and couldn't win against the top 8. So I don't think it's at that point. But yeah, I could be, and the only reason I say that is because we've been so average the whole year. Yeah.
Look, we're going to get to the comments in a second, but we're also going to go through, Will Goodings did an excellent rant this morning on the 5AA breakfast, which, look, Will, he's been on the show earlier this year, and he's a good friend of the pod too, but he surmised things exactly how I was thinking about a situation that happened when we played a team 4 to 5 rounds ago. So Here it is.
Being dropped for a joke. Oh, is that where we're at?
Mm.
The PC Brigade have won out, have they? To stats. So he's kicked the most goals in the competition among small forwards for people under the age of 22. He's the best young small forward in the competition by that metric. And as you said, Rennie, his form's been good. I just want to talk about this in terms of where the Adelaide Football Club's at. Just have a look at the way Geelong handled the Tyson Stengel scenario recently.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a great club with a winning culture, terrific coach and good leadership. He got himself so written off he went to hospital, embarrassed his club and his teammates after a game. All of the leaders of that club came out and backed him in. Said, yeah, he's got work to do, but we support him. He's a talented guy and he works hard. And Patrick Dangerfield, chief among them. His coach didn't drop him that week. He picked him that week.
Mm-hmm.
Said, we support him. The Adelaide Football Club. Rory Laird, leader of the club, comes out and bags him in the media. I think if anyone this week deserves to be dropped for what they did in the media, it's bagging a teammate. And that's what Rory Laird did. Then he gets dropped by his coach, despite acknowledging he's in great form. I know which club I'd prefer to be supporting.
Mm.
Now, for everyone wondering, Will Goodings is a lifelong Crows fan. His favourite draft pick ever was James Seller, which he talked about on his interview earlier this year. And the dude's not being facetious here either. The Stengel side of things, yeah, I know we talked about the fact that he's had previous, and it's I won't say alleged, but because it got found out to be true, he left the Crows, or was traded to Geelong. Was he? No, he was delisted from memory.
Sacked.
Yes, sacked. From the Crows and went to Geelong, but he's rehabilitated to a certain extent. And to be perfectly honest, you can pass out at a nightclub without having drugs in your system. You can be what's called dehydrated. That's a thing, okay? So, it's not that I have inside knowledge about this at all, but genuinely, it's not just drugs, okay? So for everyone to jump at that without any confirmation, calm down, okay? But he's right. Geelong, the team, backed him in. That's a sign of a good culture. And this just stinks. And he's hit the nail on the head. Completely.
Well, I mean, that week we played Geelong that following weekend, and I heard about it on the Monday, this Tyson Stengel thing when it came out, and I was like, this is going to be in the news all week.
Yep.
Like all week, this will be in the news. I can't wait for Thursday night because he's going to not be in the team, and this will just keep blowing up. This was squashed with a 3 p.m. conference on the Monday morning that the club called. And let's not forget, Geelong is one. I know people will say, "Oh, they're Victorian and there's 10 other teams to work," but it is a one-club town. Geelong's a fair way isolated from the rest of them. So it's a one-club town, and everyone there goes for the same. If you live in Geelong, you go for Geelong. That's generally how it works for 95% of people, probably even more. So they had every opportunity, all of the media outlets over there, to get different players on and ask the exact same question that would have been asked to Rory Laird, and they would have put up a united front and said, no, we support him. Yep, that's the last I'm talking about it. That's all Rory Laird had to do. But instead, no. And it just makes us look so stupid.
Makes us look petty. It makes us look incredibly petty. And it does make us...
amateur in my eyes.
Oh, shit, yeah. I mean, not as amateur as some of the defences that Dan Houston's appeal team put up, something about lids and other stuff like that. I don't want to get into that because that's...
Follow along to David Zeta.
Oh, shit. Fucking hell. I'm so mad. It's coming up to almost 10 o'clock here, and we haven't even got to the comments from our amazing listeners and the feedback therein, but...
One thing I will say, because I think it's going to be, it might be in the comments because I've seen it on a lot of my Twitter feed today and different things of him potentially requesting a trade. Now, I am a big Josh Rachele fan, and I have been since the day we drafted him, to be honest, and he came in with the confidence that I thought we've been needing for years in our forward line, which we had lacked for years. Probably since young Taylor Walker, maybe even further back.
Oh, that's a good call, actually, yeah.
and I was like, yeah, this is someone the fan base can really get behind. This year, I felt we've really deviated from that, and I did not like the fact that he became, to an extent, the whipping boy. I hated that, but like, I don't want him to be traded at all. I really hope that he can get through this. And let's face it, he's not the first player that's ever dropped, and he won't be the last. But it really sucks. And the thing is, he lives with Jake Saligo and Luke Nankervis.
Yeah,
and they are
exactly.
you only have to follow one of them on social media. They are very, very tight. And I would hate for this to drive a wedge between those three and the club, and three of our brightest youngsters away from the club. And let's face it, I don't make videos on TikTok, but Rachele is probably, I'm going to say, he's probably the most loved player in our team on TikTok. He's someone I think the younger fans really relate to, more so than they would. The younger fan base don't really relate to Taylor Walker, for example, even though he's been there for 15, 16 years or whatever it is. They really relate to Josh Rachele, I think. And so to have him leave would just really kill some of the momentum there, I think.
I agree, mate. And I'm a huge fan of him. I'm a huge rap for him. And I'm going to say it. I hope he's okay. I hope his headspace is all right.
Yeah, that's the main thing, of course.
For anyone, age 22 and under dealing with this sort of pressure, I mean, they were talking about, Tony Modra, there would be days where he wouldn't want to leave his house because of the media, would always be
and
circling
it's a lot worse
him.
now.
And it's very invasive. And, Graham Quillen's talked about that when we interviewed him. And I do feel bad for these guys. And my thoughts are genuinely with Rash and his family too. He's a big supporter of us as well. And I'm not saying this just to suck up to him. And would he be listening? Probably not. He's got better thing to do. But at the same time, I hope he's all right. Like, I could never imagine what this sort of pressure would be like if I was 22 and under dealing with this. I mean, I would kill to have been that hot back then. But, I feel bad for the guy.
Well,
so, look.
One thing I will say as well, he's about 6 months older than I am. And to think, I know he would have had media training and whatnot, but I try and put myself in those shoes, and I'd struggle, I think. So I just hope, he is all right, and I know he will have good people around him like Saligo and Nankervis who can hopefully rally him. But it just sucks. And we're not saying that people will think, oh, calm down, he's just being dropped for one game, but I just feel like there's a little bit more to this than any random player being dropped.
Yeah. Now I'll give a glimmer of hope that the coaching team and the selection panel are actually able to think of how to mould this over the pre-season, etc., from a mental hardening point of view, and resilience, building that resilience both for him and the playing group too. And please don't make Lachie walk over hot coals, that's for sure. Now, I'm going to get to the responses on Instagram stories real quick.
Yep.
Because there is a lot. So this is in regards to selections. And just to be very quick, selections did happen unbelievably, which we haven't even talked about. And very quickly, out goes Rankin with concussion, obviously keen for personal leave. I think I've seen multiple people saying he's already gone back to Ireland or something else.
I think he had a family matter, so hopefully he's all good.
Hopefully he's all right. Rachele, obviously, and Lachie Gallant admitted to go back to kick another 7 goals in the SANFL. Now, if we get to responses on Instagram stories, here we go. My God. Okay. Ollie Livemore, this is one that literally only came through in the last 2 minutes. I'm just going to read it verbatim. Fuck Laird. Fuck Crows. They lost a supporter today. That's fucked. Not happy. Very angry. There's another 32 responses here.
Okay.
Friend of the pod and Patreon, Alex Alexandra, has said, If you're going to drop Rash, drop him when he plays shit, not after the week with the media. He's not after the week he's had with the media, I think that's what she's saying. Couldn't agree more. Friend of the pod and Patreon, Justin Cheeky Cummings, has said, I think Keane's gone to Ireland because this could have all been avoided if he could have marked the fucking ball. Okay. We've got another friend of the pod and Patreon, Hayden Arthur, who says, too much to even fit in here. 100-word essay incoming. Enemy of the pod and not a Patreon, Jack Hudson, has said, Rachele playing for the Kapunda B grade and used the tooth emoji.
Well done, Jack.
Lots of what the fucking fuck, bullshit emojis. Okay, Jake Thomas, if there's no late change debutantes after dropping Rachele, I'm going to write. Well, guess what?
Prepare your right.
Yeah, exactly. Anastasia Vlahos. This is a great point. Matt Crouch assaults a fan but doesn't get dropped.
Well, I still don't like using the word assault because I think that's a little bit just over the top.
But I think it was a bit of a silly thing to do in that moment. Like, you talk about, inciting a fan base, etc. No offense, but like, no, don't do that. Like, just
I would have thought you'd have
that's
a
great
little bit
point,
more
actually.
resolve, perhaps, but
yeah, exactly. Ethan Campbell says, I have to be careful about bagging out an opposition team. I might get dropped. Yeah. Reading this is I don't know. What's the point of, Luke Davis says, what's the point of bringing in Jones? We know what he can do. Why not give Charlie Edwards a run?
Yeah. I was a pretty big rack for Charlie Edwards as soon as we drafted him. And from all reports, he had a relatively slow burn of a year. But what have they got to lose by not playing him on Saturday night? Like, what's going to happen? We're going to lose. Like, wow.
Yeah. Quick photo for the socials. Say cheese. Thank you. All right. I don't know how to feel, Lachie. I'm so fucking mad. I'm just, oh, man. All right, let's quickly get to Twitter. Jesus. More spam accounts. Great. I love that. Not really. It's not nudity. It's something actually quite perverse. All right. Colin, he's had 6 vaccinations, this guy, at Colin Thomas 1951. I'm really angry that Rachele has been dropped. Enforce your standards behind closed doors. Don't crucify a player in public. What about the player who's been under police investigation? And our football director was in a pub brawl and wasn't even dropped back then. Adelaide Football Club has lost me.
Okay, well, I feel like you might be drawing a bit of a long bow because I wasn't around properly. Well, I was alive, I think. I don't even know what year it happened, the Ramsgate, but
I think you were the same age as my daughter now.
So I don't. Yeah, but if from what I can gather, like that's drawing a pretty long bow. But I take his point to a degree, I suppose.
Yeah, mate, it's. Jason at Adelaide Crow says, oh, not sure you want the people's thoughts on this one. Well, they were the only thoughts that we got, so we got a lot more people on Instagram. Oh, God. Very quickly over to Twitter, which had a few things. But, man.
It just...
Yeah, tell me.
I go back to this time last year, and we just lost to Sydney in the worst. I still say I was at the grand final in 2017. The pain I felt post-Sydney hurt me more, and people will say that's ridiculous. The grand final was way worse, but the pain after Sydney hurt me a lot more.
Yep.
And this is pain on a different level because, I think the Sydney game hurt me more than the grand final because of what we've been through over the last 7 years. And I still say we were beaten fairly and squarely on grand final day in 2017. We should have won that game against Sydney, and people will say, "Oh, well, you might have got knocked out first week." Yeah, we might have, but we might not have too. So, yeah, I mean that's a we could have a 3-hour pod on that alone. But
revisionist history. No, I agree. Actually, look, I went to that grand final. Were you at the grand final?
I was. Yep.
Yeah, I went into that game freely expecting. I've said this before. I was freely expecting us to get trounced because as soon as we selected Andy Odden, I was like, "We're fucked."
Oh no,
like it's no joke. As soon as Smithers was out, when he did his AC on the qualifying final, I was and we got and I think Hugh Greenwood, who's retired today, by the way.
Greenwood played.
No, he played, but he only had like in the prelim, I think like 60 or 70% time on ground.
Yeah,
he was not effective at all, and I was like, they could get on top of our midfield, and they did,
and they won. Anyway,
Anyway, really quick over to Facebook. Dylan Sinopius says, "Name another team that makes you want to smash your head harder into a wall." I'll wait.
Well, not any that I follow, but there probably are a few clubs around. I think that fans would say that our club does that from time to time.
St Kilda?
Yeah, Essendon over the last probably month, I think, shows Freo in the Situate Carlton. If Carlton miss finals, I reckon there might be a few Blues fans smashing their own heads into walls.
Yes, well, they all live in double brick homes because they're all Italian, so
that'd hurt them.
You don't do that. Blake Hancock says, "I just simply struggle to comprehend what this club does sometimes. Also makes it difficult to follow. Got to trust the process, I guess. ... Hope it works."
Yeah, that's a great. But yeah, that's a good comment.
I mean, I know we're reacting in the heat of the moment, but I'm really. None of us at all. First off, we're expecting to say our last game is coming up this weekend. We were all expecting to make finals. Yeah.
If you told me that at the start of the year, I would have gone, okay, we must have had a shitload of injuries or something like that. I would say something like, okay, Dawson must have been out for most of the year. Rankin must have been out for most of the year. Tex must have been, all of these players must have been out for most of the year, or something again like last year has gone horribly wrong against us.
Something catastrophic.
Yeah, not that we've just been so shit.
Yeah. And Andy Bignell mentions about King going to Ireland, but that's really it. You know what? I don't even care about the game this weekend. I could not care less. I'm not going to be watching. And I'm going to give a shout out here to Rory, who's messaged us via DM. I've only just opened this now, at Spreckles, who's asked about how come we're not going to get down to on the Oval go and support Rachele. And I think that's a great point, actually. I was going to go.
If you're not doing anything, I think they're playing Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I was going to go down to the Potato Roaster Stadium, ex-convenience oval at Central District with my wooden spoons. I got it in the other room. I do have a big wooden spoon that I got from Gaganis to take there. But you know what? I might go to and I'll take the wooden spoon anyway, just to remind Rachele of his grassroots. But no, look, this is robbing away from the AFL women's side of things.
You've been big on this you've actually been big on this since about April, I reckon it was, when after Gather Round, I reckon was the first time you mentioned it to me. Yeah.
And look, and like I said, shout out to the club itself and the socials team and everything who are trying their best. Don't tweet at the club. Don't call the club. Okay, you're not helping.
And what are they going to do?
Yeah, there is some poor admin person who's having to field that call. Just you're not changing things by doing that. Okay,
I get people ranting on social media, but firstly, the other thing that I don't really understand, and I think people sometimes do it for maybe a humour reason. It's the only reason I can think is when they actually tag Matthew Nix's account in a tweet. What does that achieve? Firstly, I don't think Matthew Nix opens his phone and goes, "Oh, what do you reckon about this, boys?" Okay, and I will just say this. I've just opened my phone to make that point. There is a media release that has come through from Reece Humphrey, who's another one who does a great job. Crows media opportunity. Adelaide senior coach Matthew Nix will be available for interview at Adelaide Airport at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Please note this is in lieu of the planned player media opportunity. So Mitch Hinge, so they release each week on a Monday. They release when everyone's up.
Too. Yep.
So Monday morning, they said Mitch Hinge would be up. So that's now changed to Matty Nix. So
yeah, I'm just reading the same thing too, mate.
That's quite significant.
Yeah. Look, I want to give a special shout out to 5AA, because their usual people that they have on their breakfast show is Josh Rachele and Dan Houston.
They didn't have either of them on today. There was a reason they said, and I never clicked on the article.
No, I did listen to this part. They have what's Pembo does is breaking at 8 thing, sort of just a breaking news sort of thing. And Dan Houston is in Melbourne at present, probably negotiating something. And Josh Rachele is just not available. Look,
which is another reason we say we hope he's okay.
Yeah, genuinely, I actually hope he's okay. But however, on Rachele's Instagram story, he did post that just near here he got some fake tan laser done or something. So hopefully he's all right, and he's looking very svelte too. So shout out to him. And yeah, like I said, just hope you're all right, buddy, because yeah, we've been there, done that. We know what it's like going through all the mental health side of things, mate. So we hope you're all right, and hope the people doing good things around the club are good too. And yeah, did this feel cathartic, Lachie?
I got some things off my chest.
All right. Well, look.
And if you look, let's just say, I will say, I know you're about to allude to it in the post wrap, but if you are wanting a rant, there's about 48 of them that happen throughout the day in the Patreon's messenger chat. So feel free to join. I know the public free one we had going for probably about a month and a half was pretty active, and I know there'd be some that want to make their way over and continue talking. We genuinely discuss the same topics across about a 5-hour rotating schedule. So if you missed it the first time, don't worry, you'll generally get it again.
It'll come around again, don't you worry. Patreon.com/Crowject sign for just $1 a month, because there is a plethora of things that we discuss there. I think
not often just football either, which are often my more favourite sessions.
Exactly, it's a good distraction, I think, at times.
And then when you said today about when you said when they were talking about a shed for the new new headquarters, he said, no, just get a colour-bond one from Strack.
Yeah, just get a shed. Like, what's the danger?
Oh, that's great.
And then Darcy Fogarty will have a bed in there and he'll call it the workbench. That's a Warwick Kappa reference, by the way. That's what he used to call.
Okay.
Yeah. So him and his wife did a Playboy article. It's not a joke. God. In the early 90s. I'm sure you can find it on salacious and salubrious websites. But him and his missus did a nude photo shoot, and they did it on his bed, which he called the workbench.
That's wow.
Yeah, the more you know. Anyway, on that bombshell, hope you sleep well. Look, patreon.com/Crowject and crowject.bigcartel.com to get all your GoCrom and Crowject merch. We've done some more donations this week as well. A few more $119 donations, including to Filthy's beard extraction as well. Another $119
back.
Yeah.
To Rankin as well. He's got a career as a musician and a barber post footy, so that was a flawless shave.
I know. He did so well. But big thank you to our sponsors in Nathaniel's Coffee and Panini, Solely Designs, ARC General Maintenance, and Trojan Aluminium. It's been a night. It's been a week with 10 separate incidences. Fantastic. So, Lachie, thank you so much for joining me tonight, mate.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was good to air some things off.
Yeah. My name's Peter. Go Crom.
Go Crom.